Why you must read English. Elara harbored a fervent dream, a silent aspiration that bloomed in her heart like a delicate spring flower. She yearned to speak English, not just fluently, but with the elegant cadence of British English, the kind she heard in captivating documentaries and charming period dramas. This desire was a constant hum in her daily thoughts, pushing her forward with quiet determination. Yet, a formidable shadow loomed large over her aspirations, the paralyzing fear of making mistakes. Every time she opened her mouth, a wave of self-doubt washed over her, making her stumble and hesitate. "I don't want to make a mistake," she'd whisper to herself, "but I always do." Why? This constant internal struggle was exhausting. She remembered countless instances, a simple question misunderstood, a polite request awkwardly phrased, a joke falling flat due to a mispronounced word. Each incident chipped away at her confidence, reinforcing the notion that she wasn't good enough, that fluent English was an insurmountable peak reserved for others, not for her. Elara scoured the internet, devoured countless articles, and watched endless videos, seeking the elusive, best way to learn English. She experimented with different apps, joined online forums, and even tried to mimic native speakers, but nothing seemed to truly click. The sheer volume of information often left her feeling more overwhelmed than enlightened. One evening, feeling particularly despondent, she stumbled upon an old, unassuming blog post. Its title was simple: "Why You Must Read English." Intrigued, Elara clicked, not expecting much, but hoping for a flicker of new insight. What followed wasn't a magic formula, but a profound shift in perspective, a gentle nudge. The article emphasized that reading wasn't just about vocabulary acquisition, it was about internalizing sentence structures, understanding cultural nuances, and absorbing the rhythm of the language. It argued that consistent exposure through reading fundamentally reshaped one's linguistic intuition, a concept that resonated deeply with Elara's search. Starting small, Elara committed to reading one page of a British novel every day. Sometimes it was a classic, other times a contemporary short story. She didn't focus on understanding every single word, but rather on grasping the overall meaning and letting the language flow over her, trusting the process implicitly. Initially, it felt like a chore, a slow and painstaking effort. She often had to reread sentences multiple times, and new words seemed to pop up endlessly. But she persisted, remembering the blog's promise: consistency, not intensity, was the true key to unlocking fluency and overcoming the initial steep learning curve. As days turned into weeks, a subtle change began. Words she'd seen only once or twice started appearing again, solidifying in her memory. Phrases that once felt alien began to sound natural. The act of reading transformed from a struggle into a quiet, enjoyable ritual, a daily immersion into the English world. The next revelation came from another forgotten corner of the internet, a humble forum discussion titled, "How to Think and Speak." This concept initially bewildered Elara. How could she think in a language she wasn't yet fluent in? It seemed like putting the cart before the horse, an impossible leap. The core idea was surprisingly simple yet profoundly effective: consciously attempting to form thoughts directly in English, even if only silently. Instead of thinking in her native tongue and then translating, she would try to articulate her inner monologue, her plans for the day, or her reactions to events, directly in English. This was challenging. Her mind would often revert to her native language, seeking comfort in familiarity. But with persistent effort, she began to notice small victories. A fleeting thought about her morning coffee, a mental note about her groceries, or a silent comment on the weather, all expressed in English. The internal shift was slow but steady. It wasn't about perfect grammar or complex sentences, it was about building neural pathways, about making English the default language of her inner world. This practice subtly prepared her brain for spontaneous speech, laying a crucial foundation for fluent communication. Then came the "talk in English just 1 page per day" challenge. This wasn't about reading, but about producing. The idea was to write or speak about a single page's worth of content, daily. It could be journaling, summarizing what she read, or simply describing her day, all in British English style. Elara decided to combine it with journaling. Every evening, she would dedicate a page in her notebook to her thoughts and experiences, meticulously attempting to express herself in English. If she didn't know a word, she would try to describe it or look it up, immediately applying it. This daily writing practice forced her to actively recall vocabulary and construct sentences, moving beyond passive comprehension. It was a tangible record of her progress, a testament to her commitment. Some days the words flowed easily, other days, it was a battle, but she never skipped a day. She also began to talk to herself, narrating her actions as she went about her day. "I'm making tea now, British English tea," she'd whisper, or, "It's quite cloudy outside today, typical British weather." This seemingly odd habit built confidence in her spoken English, transforming it into second nature. The combination of reading, thinking, and daily output began to yield remarkable results. Her internal vocabulary expanded, her sentence structures felt more natural, and the gap between understanding and producing English slowly but surely began to narrow, fostering a sense of growing accomplishment. However, a critical component was still missing: authentic, dynamic conversation. The next phase of her journey focused on listen English and listen and practice, understanding that passive listening was only half the equation, and active engagement was the crucial missing link. She began by immersing herself in British podcasts, news broadcasts, and online lectures. She didn't just listen, she engaged actively. She repeated phrases, mimicked intonation, and tried to identify specific vocabulary used in various contexts, discerning nuances she previously overlooked entirely. This active listening transitioned into listen and practice. After listening to a segment, she would pause and try to summarize it aloud in her own words. This exercise pushed her to not only comprehend but also to synthesize and articulate her understanding, bridging the gap between input and output. She sought out online language exchange partners, specifically requesting those with British accents, eager to apply her burgeoning skills. The initial conversations were still fraught with hesitation, but she approached them with a newfound determination, viewing each interaction as a valuable learning opportunity. A major hurdle remained: remembering new words. Elara had tried rote memorization, flashcards, and countless vocabulary apps, but words often seemed to vanish as quickly as they appeared, leaving her feeling frustrated and questioning her own ability to retain information effectively. Then she discovered the concept of spaced repetition and contextual learning. Instead of isolated words, she started noting down entire phrases or sentences where the new word appeared. She created vivid mental images and connected new vocabulary to existing knowledge, forming stronger associations. She also incorporated words into her daily one-page writing, forcing active recall. If she learned a new adjective, she would intentionally use it multiple times throughout her day's journaling entry. This consistent, varied exposure solidified the words in her long-term memory, making them accessible for use. Her approach to mistakes also underwent a profound transformation. "I don't want to make a mistake, but I always why?" This question that once paralyzed her slowly began to morph into, "I make mistakes, and that's how I learn. Why not?" The shift in mindset was liberating, unburdening her. She realized that every error wasn't a failure but a feedback mechanism, a signpost pointing towards areas needing improvement. Instead of dwelling on grammatical slips or awkward phrasing, she started to analyze them, understanding the underlying rule or the correct usage, turning them into valuable lessons. Her journey wasn't linear. There were days of immense progress and days where she felt stuck, making the same errors repeatedly. But she learned to be patient with herself, understanding that language acquisition is a marathon, not a sprint, and consistency trumps speed every single time. Elara started seeking out opportunities to talk in English, no matter how small. A casual chat with a tourist, ordering coffee at an international cafe, or even practicing short dialogues with herself in front of a mirror, gradually building up her real-world conversational stamina and confidence. She found very interesting story podcasts and audiobooks, listening not just for language, but for the sheer enjoyment of the narratives. This made her listening practice pleasurable and sustainable, proving that learning could be an enjoyable pursuit rather than a tedious chore, truly captivating her interest. The more she listened, the more she absorbed the natural rhythm and intonation of British English. She began to speak with a more authentic accent, her pronunciation improving significantly. Her voice became more expressive, carrying the nuances she previously only heard in native speakers' voices. Her vocabulary grew exponentially, not just in quantity but in depth. She wasn't just remembering definitions, she understood connotations, collocations, and how words fit together in natural discourse. This deeper understanding made her speech richer and more precise, enabling more sophisticated expressions. Elara discovered that truly thinking in English was a gradual process, intertwining reading, listening, and speaking. Her internal monologue started to flow seamlessly in English, even when she wasn't consciously trying. Dreams sometimes unfolded in English now, a testament to her progress. The fear of mistakes, while not entirely gone, had diminished significantly. She recognized that native speakers also made slips, mispronounced words, or paused to find the right expression. Imperfection was part of communication, and her own errors became less about shame and more about growth. She understood that the best way to learn English wasn't a single method but a personalized, integrated approach, combining various strategies tailored to her learning style. It was a holistic journey, encompassing all four key skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking, in a symbiotic relationship. Her dedication to talk in English just one page per day proved to be incredibly powerful. It provided a consistent, manageable commitment that ensured daily engagement, preventing long breaks that could derail her progress and maintaining momentum throughout her intensive learning period. The initial frustration of, "I don't want to make a mistake but I always why," transformed into an empowering acceptance. She celebrated every mistake as a learning moment, an opportunity to refine her understanding and strengthen her command of the language, pushing past her former limitations. Her ability to remember words improved dramatically through active application and contextual learning, moving beyond mere memorization. New vocabulary became integrated into her active lexicon, ready for spontaneous use rather than remaining passively understood, making conversations flow more smoothly. The focus on "listen English" and "listen and practice" sharpened her auditory comprehension and naturalized her pronunciation. She could now follow complex discussions and understand various accents, which opened up a world of English media and authentic interactions, enriching her overall experience. Elara also learned the importance of finding very interesting story content. By choosing materials that genuinely captivated her, learning became an enjoyable pursuit rather than a chore. This sustained her motivation, making the long journey feel less arduous and more like an exciting adventure. She understood that consistent exposure to authentic British English, through reading and listening, was vital for internalizing its specific rhythm and vocabulary. It wasn't just about learning English, it was about truly immersing herself in the nuances of the British linguistic landscape effectively. This journey of learning wasn't just about language, it was about self-discovery. Elara realized her own resilience, her capacity for sustained effort, and the incredible power of a positive mindset when faced with challenges. She was no longer just learning English, she was evolving as an individual. Her confidence soared, not just in English, but in all aspects of her life. The lessons learned from language acquisition, perseverance, problem-solving, and embracing imperfection, spilled over into her professional and personal endeavors, proving universally applicable and immensely beneficial. She could now articulate complex ideas, share her opinions, and engage in spontaneous conversations without the crippling fear that once held her captive. Her voice, once hesitant, now carried conviction and clarity, reflecting the depth of her understanding and her newly found expressive abilities. Speaking British English, once a distant dream, became a tangible reality. She could discuss current events, debate philosophical concepts, and even share personal anecdotes, all with the natural flow and idiomatic expressions she had diligently cultivated through her dedicated daily practice. Her fluency wasn't about sounding perfectly native, but about communicating effectively, authentically, and confidently. She embraced her own accent, her unique voice, knowing that true fluency lay in confident self-expression, not in flawless mimicry, reflecting her personal linguistic journey. Elara often reflected on her initial struggles, the endless why questions that plagued her. Now, she understood that the why was part of the process, an inherent aspect of growth, and that the only true mistake was giving up, rather than persevering through inevitable linguistic challenges. She started helping others, sharing her story and the strategies that worked for her. She became a beacon of hope for aspiring English learners, demonstrating that consistent effort, a positive attitude, and a personalized approach could indeed lead to remarkable linguistic breakthroughs. Her most significant advice: why you must read English, how to think and speak, talk in English just 1 page per day, and listen and practice are not isolated tips but interconnected pillars of fluency. Embrace them, and your language learning journey will transform. She emphasized embracing the "I don't want to make a mistake but I always why" phase as a natural part of the learning curve, transforming it into a catalyst for growth. Mistakes were no longer obstacles but stepping stones on her path to English mastery, strengthening her resolve. Elara now found immense joy in Listen English to British dramas and podcasts, not just for learning, but for pure entertainment. The stories resonated deeper, the humor landed perfectly, and she felt a true connection to the culture, enriching her understanding profoundly. She discovered that the best way to learn English was, in fact, her way, a blend of consistent reading, active listening, daily speaking practice, and a mindset that embraced errors as opportunities. There was no single magic bullet, but a persistent, multifaceted approach. Her journey underscored the power of listen and practice, reiterating that passive input alone was insufficient. Active engagement, replicating sounds and structures, was essential for internalizing the language and making it truly her own, leading to remarkable fluency gains. Remembering words stopped being a chore with her new How to Remember Words techniques, which focused on contextual learning and active recall through daily use. Vocabulary became a dynamic tool, readily available, rather than a fleeting memory, improving her conversational flow naturally. Elara's story became a testament to the fact that language learning is a deeply personal, incredibly rewarding adventure. It's about more than words, it's about opening new doors, connecting with the world, and discovering untapped potential within oneself, leading to personal triumph. So, if you're asking why you must read English, or struggling with I don't want to make a mistake but I always why, remember Elara. Her journey proves that consistent effort, an open mind, and daily practice are the undeniable keys to unlocking your full linguistic potential. Embrace the challenge, find your very interesting story to learn from, and commit to talk in English just 1 page per day. Your fluency journey, filled with growth and discovery, awaits you, transforming your communication skills and opening up a world of new opportunities now. Let your dedication to Listen English and Listen and Practice guide you. Understand that How to Remember Words is about application, not just memorization. The best way to learn English is through consistent, joyful, and courageous engagement every single day.